It's time once again for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's Emmy himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Maynard Eaton.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Talk to Me. I'm your host, Maynard Eaton, and our guest is Araceli Munoz, an ethnographer, a photographer. In recognition of Mexican-American, she's a Mexican-American, first-generation Mexican-American, and in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, we wanted to talk to her about her art, her photography, and a new exhibition you have, Araceli, called Road to My Roots. Talk about that a bit for us, please.
Hi, well, nice to meet all of you or see you guys and reach everyone out there. And well, my name is Araceli, like Maynard said. I am a first generation Mexican American, born in Indiana. And well, my family came from Jalisco, Mexico. My dad arrived in the 1960s, at the end of the 1960s in the United States. But his grandfather and my other grandfather on my mother's side had already arrived in the United States in the 50s and were working in Chicago. So I grew up in Indiana. I went to school in Chicago for photography. So before I went to school for photography, I actually would visit Mexico every year since I was little with my mom and my dad. We would travel back and forth since I was little. So I became super in love with Mexican culture during all these travels. And
is that what inspired your photography? Traveling back home and seeing your roots, huh?
Yeah, of course, because I mean, like I said, I'm born in Indiana, raised in Indiana, and every time I traveled to Mexico, it just sparked great interest within me. So this became the source of my inspiration to continue taking photos of Mexico.
But you don't just take pretty pictures. You try to capture something a little different. Do you know what I mean? Great art, great camera work, but it's not just a art little pretty picture, is it?
Well, I'm very interested, in Mexican culture from all over Mexico because Mexico is actually a very diverse country. At the moment, there's actually more than 60 official languages of Mexico, not just Spanish. There's a lot of indigenous dialects within that and variations of languages. So for me, I didn't really know this while I was traveling to Mexico, but I came to know little by little that, Mexico was not just my parents' farm or my grandparents' farm. Mexico was not just, horses and the desert and cacti and all the stuff I love, but it wasn't just that. It was a very is a very multicultural place, mixed with many variations of food and of, like I said, indigenous cultures and different states and great variations. So,
Ursula, it's a lot more than what many of us see on TV or in our school books, is it not? I mean, it's far beyond what we typically know as Mexico, correct?
of course, and even I'm still surprised, when I was in actually, traveling with my parents, we'd mostly just, we would actually drive from Indiana all the way down to Jalisco, Mexico. Jalisco is on the west coast of Mexico, and it is a very large state, which has, I mean, a mountainous region. It also has, it's next to the sea also, and so, there is variations within the state. But driving down, we drove through the border towns of Mexico and into Jalisco. This is all I basically saw, but every time I wanted to see more and more. And so when I was in college, I actually started to travel more into other places of Mexico.
Is it just the camera's kind of is it your tool for capturing this, or just your eyes? I mean, what does a camera kind of mean to you as an ethnographer and a photographer? I mean, it's more than just an instrument, is it not?
Of course, a lot of people think that, the camera is doing all the work, but it's actually you, like how you see everything. And I feel like my photography, I want to capture the beauty in all the different variations of people and um, cultures within Mexico, from the south to the north. I'd like to see all the variations of people and capture the beauty within all of them.
What have you learned about yourself behind that camera lens? What does it say about you and to you?
Well, I've become very sensitive, to my surroundings, become very sensitive to people, and, try to be open to all types of people. So I think that is something I've learned behind the camera and kind of trying to stay behind the camera, just looking from the outside.
This is, I said earlier, Hispanic Heritage Month, or and I think you wrote Latina Heritage Month. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, Latino Heritage Month.
What does that say? What's the difference, first of all, to a non no somebody like me, and what does it mean to you?
Well, Hispanic actually means, the language. It comes from the word Spanish. So that includes Spain and all the other Spanish speaking languages, but countries. But also, like I said, Mexico and the rest of Latin America is not just Spanish. There's Portuguese, there's variations of very old indigenous languages. I was just reading an article about languages becoming extinct. Um, Recently, I read an article, and I'm don't know exactly right now the name of the language, but there was only two people that spoke this language in Mexico, and one of them just passed away. So, I mean, there's languages becoming extinct at this moment, and for me, that's important to use the word Latino as Latin America. That includes, Portuguese and all the different variations of languages that we find in this geographical area.
I was telling when somebody asked, "Who are you? What do you? How do you describe yourself? What's your self description of who you are?"
That's maybe a little bit difficult because I'm still learning myself at the moment. So I feel, basically like a woman within two cultures. I'm Mexican, I'm American, and I am kind of in the middle. So if I go to Mexico, am I Mexican enough? If I'm in United States, if I am I American enough, um, and it's kind of finding that balance. And I really don't look at this political border, between two countries. I just feel American, Latin American, Mexican American, United States American, everything. So I feel that's
Latina
my,
American, Latinx American, is that part of the description too?
of course, yes, of course.
Speaking about, I want to get political here for a second. You said res- respecting borders. There's been this border conflict between America and Mexico. And as we speaking right now, there's a conflict between Haitians coming through Mexico into America. How does that impact you as a Mexican American? I mean, is it real political in your family, or something you discuss or complain about, or how does it play out being a Mexican American?
Within my family, we don't always have the discussions, but I do have, a lot of friends that are very politically active,
Right.
and they're very upset to see things going on in the border. Whenever we see anything on the news, we try to spread the information, and these things aren't right, and I don't really know everything that is actually going on, because I'm not physically there, of course, and I don't really know what the media shows me. And as a photographer,
Yeah.
and you probably know this, and as a journalist yourself, you probably know that we are the ones that give the information to the rest of the people, and we can, lean it whatever way we want. So it's very difficult to know everything that's going on at the border at this time. I mean, I know there's migrant camps that I've heard of that, people are being treated badly at the moment.
Right.
We already saw pictures of these guys on horses, hurting Haitians, and you see all these things in the media, and of course it breaks your heart, but um, it's sometimes I'm like, what else can we do in the media? And I think the only thing at the moment is to try to spread, the this news about what's going on to other people, so people are aware that they're not coming just to United States because, oh, I need money. No, it's not just that. Like, this is their life is in danger in other places, and I think they're trying to look for a better life, and that's why they're, people from everywhere come here. And
Right.
this is a very multicultural country, and there's people from everywhere, and I think sometimes people need to accept that.
That's who we are, right?
Yeah, that's what America is.
What was America to you growing up in Lafayette, Indiana? Were you accepted, or did you feel a little out of place being a Mexican American? How was that in mid Indiana?
It's kind of funny because I actually grew up in the town of Lafayette, and I had great teachers. I cannot complain because they actually pushed me to where I am today. I had a photo program in high school, and I was the assistant to my professor in high school for the photography program. So I was very lucky to grow up in a place right outside, West Lafayette is right next door to me. So where Purdue University is, and diversity was always a big thing in this community because we have people from all over the world coming here. So I was very lucky to grow up in a place where I felt very proud of myself. And I felt very proud being Mexican because people would ask me, like, okay, and because they knew, they're like, where did you go for vacation this, for Christmas? Everyone was asking everyone, in class. I was like, well, I went to Mexico, and all the kids, instead of being, feeling weird, they were more curious, and they wanted to know, like, oh, what do you do, and how is it there? And so, I always was proud to share this with everyone around me, and so I feel like I'm pretty lucky to have grown up in this way because I always had all the resources needed, and was very much pushed by my professors to excel.
Speaking of excellence, one last thought. Now, artist Frida Kahlo became famous and well known because of her work, her artwork with the indigenous roots. Are you doing much? Were you doing much the same? Was she was a physical artist? You were a graphic artist in terms of your artwork. I mean, in terms of your photography. Was that part of a similarity between the two of you, Frida Kahlo and you, in terms of your indigenous discoveries?
I don't know everything about Frida and what she did, so I don't want to say something that I don't know, but I know she was very much inspired by indigenous people and indigenous culture because you can see it in the artwork, especially, her husband Diego too, a lot of the photography, or I mean, sorry, the murals that they have depict indigenous culture. So I don't know the whole story about her, so I don't want to quote you on that. But yes, I feel that there is similarities because she, was a woman of light skin. She wasn't dark skinned, but she like very much loved, I mean, indigenous culture, and you can definitely see it in her clothing and her style and her artwork. And I mean, I feel she sees that this was her. She wasn't just another Mexican, because a lot of Mexicans sometimes deny their indigenous roots, which is really sad, and she never did.
Well, your artwork, your world is just opening up. The story is far from over with regard to you too. We salute you. We salute your work, and Latina Heritage Month. We salute you for your work you're doing and for who you are.
Thank you very much. And I hope everyone can check out my photography and, maybe read a little bit more about Mexican culture. Some of the pictures that I do have are from the southern states of Oaxaca and Chiapas. So those are very important states within Mexico, that have many very variations of languages. And of course, all over Mexico, you can find native Mexicans, native culture. And it's very important that we spread this information to other people and not just see as Mexico as tequila and mariachis and parties, which of course it does have, but there is a lot more to this country, and there's a lot of issues, especially social issues going on, that should be looked into. For example, you could see my photographs of EZLN, the Zapatistas, and this is in the southern state of Chiapas. So if you all could read into that, would be awesome.
You are awesome. Thank you so much, ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Have a great night.
This has been Talk to Me. We'll see you next week.
See ya.